We're always asking why, right? It's what we do. But what if we're not always asking it in the same way? We're about to dive into a really fascinating argument that points out a kind of hidden double standard in how we look for answers, and it creates this surprising tension between faith and science.
And really, it all comes down to this single question. I mean, just stop and think about it for a second. Why should this unbelievably vast and complex universe make any sense to us at all? It's kind of wild that we're not just totally lost in a sea of chaos, isn't it? This is the core question that's going to guide us through this whole thing. Okay, so let's tackle the first piece of this puzzle. It's a challenge that you'll often hear directed right at religious belief. To make its point, our source material zooms in on a very specific debate. It's about what happens when you talk to someone who believes the universe is, say, exactly 5,786 years old. The whole issue revolves around this idea of the appearance of age. So here's the challenge they pose. If the universe is really that young, why would a creator make things that look ancient? We're talking about fully formed lead, diamonds that seem millions of years old, or, huge mature trees. This question isn't just simple curiosity. It's basically a demand for a logical, step-by-step explanation. And lurking just beneath the surface of that question is a really big assumption. It's the idea that a creator's actions have to be logical and totally transparent to our human minds. It implies there's some kind of rule that the appearance of the world has to perfectly match its reality. Okay, so hold that thought, because now the source material does something really clever. It sets up a parallel challenge, but this time it's aimed right at science. So instead of talking about creation, the script gets flipped. Now we're asked to think about a different kind of why. Like, what if you asked a scientist, why is the speed of light exactly what it is and not, a little faster or slower? Now we're questioning one of the fundamental bedrock rules of our universe. And the response you're likely to get, as the author points out, is actually pretty profound. It's this: the universe has no obligation to make sense to you. And that's not someone being dismissive. It's an honest acceptance that at the very bottom of reality, some things just are. They're the starting point for everything else. So the philosophy here is a complete 180 from what we saw before. The underlying assumption is that the universe doesn't owe us a because for its most basic laws. These constants are like the axioms in geometry. They're the starting points you just have to accept to build everything else. And this is where we get to the absolute heart of the argument. This is the central paradox that pops up when you put these two ways of thinking right next to each other. It's all about consistency. This is where it all collides. Look at the left side. The religious question demands a logical reason. It implies the creator is obligated to be understandable to us. But then on the right, the scientific question accepts that the universe itself has no such obligation. We demand answers in one domain, but we accept mystery in another. Do you see the double standard that the author is getting at here? So, what do we do with this? How does the author suggest we resolve this apparent contradiction? Well, they offer a conclusion that completely reframes the whole conversation. The solution proposed is this idea of divine sovereignty. The argument is actually pretty straightforward. If the physical universe has no obligation to make sense to us, why would we assume its creator does? This kind of levels the playing field, suggesting that our demand for a neat, human-sized reason is maybe misplaced in both cases. And this is where it gets really interesting, maybe even a little mind-bending. If there's no obligation for the universe to be understandable, then the fact that so much of it is, the fact that we can figure out the laws of physics or the patterns of biology, well, that's not something we were owed. The author frames it as an act of kindness. It's an unexpected gift, not a logical requirement we could demand. So all of this leaves us with one final big question to chew on. Does every why we ask truly deserve a because in response? Or are there some fundamental limits to our search for reasons, no matter if we're looking at the world through the lens of faith or the lens of science? Definitely something to think about.